Oh no.
You come into my castle, eat my food, rest in my rooms, and have the utter gall to kill one of my guards and try to steal war plans?
Oh, Matthew! No! Why? Why does he have to be influenced to do that? I'm sad now.
War we're deep within. I can't go through it alone, and I won't leave you on your own. I stand before you now and promise you I am not afraid. I will fight and guide the way. We will rise again to glory then, soar into the sky. If you stop and see, then you just might believe.
What's up guys, the name's Renna Dragnell and welcome back to Seduce Me 2, the Demon Whore. So last we left off, let's see, Matthew is probably being possessed. Most likely, I think it's his mom, because he keeps saying that his mom keeps calling out to help and then he's acting weird and stuff. So now we're just going to see the absolute truth because we don't know what's happening because it's going to be the next day. So let's continue and see what happens. The morning came at last, rising me from my sleep. Surprisingly, I was full of energy, ready to go and take on the day's training. However, I quickly realized that I was alone. Huh? Matthew? I sat up and looked around, not seeing him anywhere in the room. Worry crept into my mind. What if he left to do something he was influenced to do? What if he tried to figure out a way to force the influence out of him? I gripped my bedsheet, oh hi Matthew, to remove it from my body when I looked up to see the door swing open, revealing Matthew holding 2 plates of food for me. You made food? That's awesome.
Good morning!
Someone sounds excited in this morning. That's a little suspicious, but good morning to you too. I became dumbstruck. Matthew? What was up with him and why was he up so early? He wasn't exactly an early bird. That's when you know something is wrong. Or maybe he just felt full of energy and stuff. I don't know. Could be wrong. Matthew grinned as he walked over and presented a plate of delicious looking fruits, eggs, bacon, toast, and pancakes I had ever seen. Whoa, Matthew, how? How? My mouth went agape at the mere sight and smell, and I slowly took it from Matthew's hands. Matthew, when did you make this?
This morning, duh! When else would I have been able to make it?
I looked up at him. He seemed very happy and cheerful, despite everything that happened the night before. Did he manage to drive out the influence? As I noticed the dark circles under his eyes, I could tell that the night had become somewhat of a struggle. So maybe that was indeed the case. Seriously, no. If he had dark circles, he would be extremely tired. This is not right. Something is off. Still, something in my gut pressed me to be cautious. Something wasn't entirely right about the situation, see? Even though seeing Matthew being happy made me happy too. I slowly began to dig in, savoring every delicious bite and almost forgetting my worries about it. Wow! This is amazing! Matthew let out a happy sigh and nodded.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna go to training now.
Whoa, hold up. Don't go to training just yet. We still need to discuss some shit. I suddenly shook my head, trying to take in what he had just said. He was going to training now? I looked at him as he began to turn around, holding out an arm for him. Whoa, 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 hold on there.
Bye!
I said hold the fuck up, Matthew. You're not going anywhere. Despite my protest, Matthew left the room, practically skipping out of it. Okay. What the hell? Okay. Now, something was now definitely wrong. I lowered my plate and stood, racing towards the door, but was stopped by Diana, who was about to step in. What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, Diana. Diana looked me up and down before looking at the plate of food I had left on my bed and looking at the plates of food she had in her hand, obviously meant for me and Matthew.
When did you...
I shook my head. Diana didn't know Matthew was making me food? I became more and more worried. Oh, Jesus Christ. Please don't tell me what I think it is. Diana stepped in and placed her plates on the nearby table, crossing her arms in concern.
All right. Do you now wish to tell me what is going on?
I naturally bit my lip. I couldn't tell her, but something about this warning me that whatever was influencing Matthew could have gotten worse. I began to internally panic, but I kept a look of calm on my face. Matthew just made me breakfast. That's all. Well, I'm just casually telling her this while screaming internally, something's wrong with Matthew! What the hell is happening?
When was this?
I grimaced, looking away. Apparently this morning. Diana shook her head and pressed her fingers into her temples, slowly exhaling an irritated sigh.
That boy is seriously concerning me now.
Don't call him a boy. Don't call him a boy. Please, I'm begging you. I didn't mean to explode, but after hearing Matthew's worries the night before, I couldn't help but naturally defend him. Diana stared wide-eyed at me, most likely wondering where my sudden outburst came from. Even though I had vocally challenged her, Diana let out a sigh and crossed her arms.
Regardless, I'll have people watch over him. If he does anything out of the ordinary, I will be the first to know.
Good for you, okay. Diana gave me a hard stare for a moment before turning and leaving the room. I became torn. Matthew didn't want help, but it seemed like he very much needed it. What if this was all something I was overreacting from? What if he was hiding something vitally important? I gripped my head and shook it. Stop it! Stop it! Calm down. That's right. I had to calm down first. This wasn't going to be easy, but the truth would come out one way or another. I ate my food and prepared for the day, praying that I would not hear of Matthew killing someone. I'm going to just... Nothing! I know nothing. As I walked to the Grand Hall to meet with Faye, to meet with them for training. Wow, that was a lot of jumble. I'm going to start over. As I walked to the Grand Hall to meet with Faye, to meet with them for training, my mind slowly began to trickle in memories of the day before. What was that? What was up with Diana? What was with her aura? She seemed normal so far, but remembering the sight of her in angry flames made me a bit worried. What was she planning on doing, and where was she going to go? I finally reached the Grand Hall, seeing Faye holding a strangely woven basket of sorts. Peeking from the top was an intricate-looking bottle, and I could faintly catch the sight of some items wrapped in green leaves. Where were we? Oh, were we going somewhere? I tilted my head at Faye and walked towards them. What's the basket for?
Well, we gotta have food if we're gonna go out today, right?
Huh? Where are we going? I thought we had to train. However, the new look on Faye's face proved that today was not going to be about practicing anything.
I wanna take you somewhere outside the castle. We'll be in a safe place, I promise. Wanna come?
Warnings about leaving the castle entered my mind, reminding me of Diana's heavy suggestion the day I had arrived in the demon world. Did I really want to leave the castle now? Well, it's Faye, and I trust them a little bit. If Diana trusts Faye, then I should trust her as well, so why not? Thinking about it, The week had been pretty stressful. Maybe it was time for a break. A day wasn't going to hurt us, right? Right. I nodded with a smile, making Faye grin back at me before taking my hand and leading me out in the hall. They guided me through the castle to the front gate, then released my hand to fly high into the air.
Come on!
I stared up at the open sky before taking a breath and nodding. I jolted my hands towards the ground and up I went into the air. Faye cheered silently before flying over the forest, causing me to follow suit. Ooh! The journey forward continued for almost a half hour before we arrived at a large mountain cliffside. Faye landed on it and set down their basket before opening a large sheet and draping it over the side of the cliff. This was indeed a picnic. I landed by the cloth before stepping over it and sitting down, letting my feet dangle over the edge. Please tell me we're not going to fall, but that's pretty cool. I'd love to do that, to be honest. We were pretty high up and the sight was gorgeous, but I was pretty sure we were safe as long as we didn't do something stupid. Faye followed suit and sat near me, pulling up the basket of their goodies between our hips. They reached into it and pulled out 2 small packages, both wrapped in large leaves and held together with twine.
Here, made it myself.
Faye handed one to me and began to open theirs up, allowing me to look down and observe what I had been given. It was light, like a sandwich, so I expected it to be such. Unwrapping it was easy enough with a simple tug. As the leaf opened, I stared at what was inside. It was a sandwich-sized block of what looked like bread peppered with little spots of green veggies and seeds of different kinds. I was intrigued just looking at it. What is this?
Good.
Alright. I stared for a bit before breaking off a piece of it to taste. It broke off rather easily, revealing a soft and steamy warm center. It became even more interesting to me as I lifted the piece to my lips and took a bite. I expected it to taste somehow exotic or wild and crazy. I was completely incorrect. Bread. It tasted like bread. Fresh bread, but still bread. I chewed a bit and swallowed, accepting that my expectations were cruelly deceived before looking to Faye and seeing them practically chow down on their bread block. They seemed to enjoy it a lot. Was I missing something? I took another bite and tasted it again. They're a bit more taste. Whatever. There were a bit more taste the second time, as the taste of the seeds popped out on my taste buds, but it wasn't anything truly marvelous. Maybe it was enough for a demon. Faye finished their bread before grinning at me, crumbs decorating their lips and cheeks before they licked it all away with their tongue. I took another bite of my bread before looking out to the forest before us. This is a pretty nice place.
Yeah, this place is pretty nice. I come here and eat all the time.
Really?
Uh-huh. I really don't like the food they make at the castle, especially the stew. Blech.
I tilted my head, vaguely remembering being offered the stew the day after I came into this world. What was wrong with it? Yeah, wait, was it mentioned? No, actually it wasn't mentioned what it was in the stew, so I'm not gonna say anything. What's wrong with the stew? Faye looked over at me and gasped, their face slightly turning green despite the surprised fear in their eyes.
You didn't eat it, did you?
No, I refused it, actually. Well, no, but... Faye let out a relieved sigh, placing their hand on their chest. I want to question it. I was insanely curious. What was wrong with the stew? I turned to Faye and leaned in, catching their gaze and making them stare back at me. Faye, what is in the stew? That stew? Faye. Faye shut their eyes before covering their head, curling into themselves.
It's Imp! Pig Fun Imp!
Huh? Oh, those stupid imps that serve the demon. Wow. So glad I didn't eat that. I stared, taking it in. Pig Fawn Imp? Then I remembered the demon lord's henchman from the vision the boys showed me when we met. Good thing I didn't eat it. The demon lord had a servant that looked like a pig fawn. According the Diana, great choice of English, Michaela. According the Diana, the demon lord had imps, so the servant had to be one. On top of that, one apparently had snuck into the castle to electrocute Diana the first day I came. Did she kill him and stick him in a stew? Did I almost eat a demon? My stomach felt suddenly queasy as I covered my mouth and took in a heavy breath in realization. I was now incredibly grateful Diana had stopped me.
I am so sorry. At least you didn't eat it, right?
Yeah, right. Didn't need it, thank God. I nodded, shaking out my nerves and calming down. Thank God I didn't eat it. Faye let out a sigh and leaned back on their arms, looking up at the sky above us.
You know, for a human, you are pretty good with magic.
Well, thank you. I looked over at them and tilted my head. Where was this coming from? Faye, I only really know 2 spells.
So, there are some demons who only know 1 spell. You know 2! That's better than 1, right?
True. I was surprised, but I nodded. There were demons like that? Faye let out a sigh.
There are all kinds of magic in the universe, you know? For you to master demon magic, let alone fairy magic, that's a really cool talent.
Oh, thank you, Faye. I smiled, happy to know that I was being seen as talented. Something about hearing a demon telling me that I was talented, when it wasn't my fiancé, made me feel really special. Faye reached between us and brought out the bottle, popping the cork and offering it to me.
Want some?
What is it?
A brew from where I was born, Salak Fion. It's good, I promise.
Accept it. I'm not going to be mean. Might as well. I gently took the bottle from Faye and lifted it to my lips, taking a sip and being surprised at the taste. If it was alcohol, it definitely didn't taste like it. A gorgeous mixture of berries and mineral water danced along my tongue, revealing a hint of some spice I couldn't recognize. It went down like water and spurred me to take a good swig before passing it back to Faye, wiping my lip. Wow, that's amazing!
I know, right?
Faye cheered before lifting it up and chugging a good % of it down. We shared the bottle, only limited to that one bottle, and enjoyed the state of mild Europa it gave us. As we sat back, we let out a simultaneous sigh.
You know, something's wrong with Diana.
Well, the way she was acting the day before kinda leads to that. There it was. I looked over at Faye to see them still gazing into the air, cheeks slightly pink from the drink they had. They continued to speak naturally.
I have this thing, like, I can sense danger and stuff, and lately, Diana's been flaring up for me like no tomorrow, you know? Like she's
She's what?
like she's turning into the demon lord or something. She's growing more, quick to make angry, maybe.
I would understand if Diana went totally mad. I mean, she's been fighting the demon lord for over 10 years. I wouldn't be surprised if she turned mad, like growing insane, kind of like the demon lord. So I could tell that this was the reason why Faye needed to leave the castle. This concern was definitely one Faye needed to figure out, or at least vent about. Diana seemed to be close to them. What do you think could have changed her?
I don't know. I mean, she's always kind of been a, I guess, passionate person. You know, since she hates the demon lord and stuff. But she's mostly been pretty nice and stuff until recently.
Really? She was nice even when you met her?
Really? Especially when I met her. I went to her after my entire clan was burned and, well, she kinda took me in and asked me to help her in the war. I was the first person besides for her guard to work with her.
Really? That's a shocker. I thought it would be Rabbit first, to be honest. That was an interesting story. While it was sad what happened to Faye's clan, they seemed to have moved on and were okay with where they were. Faye tilted back and lounged back on the blanket.
I've pretty much been there ever since the war started. I've never seen her get so angry and stuff. At least not to the point where she suddenly, poof, burst into flames.
That does seem a bit odd. I became concerned for Diana, too. Would she be okay? She was leading a large rebellion against a murderous psychopath, so it seemed to come with the job. But if Faye watched her and saw this change, then what could have sparked it? I shook my head and fell back on the sheet beneath us as well, staring into the open sky. I couldn't spend my time thinking about it. I was out to relax with Faye, and they seemed to want to get off of the topic now that they had said their piece. We relaxed there, chatting away at random topics, until it was time to head back, practice a bit of what I knew, and separate for the night. Hopefully, things would be settled soon. Oh dear, I don't like this. I quickly walked to my room, wanting to make it there before Matthew. As I turned the corner to the hall my room was in, however, a large number of shouts echoed.
Grab him! Don't let him get away!
Let go of me!
Oh jeez. Oh no! I stared wide-eyed as guards rushed into my bedroom and dragged Matthew out of it by his arms. I was even more surprised to see him slightly battered and covered in blood. Oh no, Matthew, please tell me. No. No. You did not kill someone. I told you guys it would happen. Told you guys it would happen. But I didn't say anything. What? Sam, tell me what's going on. Sam, please tell me. I took a step forward to rush in and see what was going on, but a hand stopped me and pulled me back. I looked over and stared as Sam gripped my shoulder, glaring ahead at his brother. Sam, what's going on?
Matthew did something really fucking stupid.
I can tell. Gripping Sam's hand from my shoulder, I turned around and glared, almost snarling in anger. Why am I going to be angry at him? You know he's not going to be fazed by my anger. What do you mean? What did he do? Oh, jeez. Sam looked at me, unfazed by my anger, and walked forward ahead of me, following the group of soldiers and Matthew down the hall. I did the same, now desperate to know what was going on. As we arrived at the Great Hall, Matthew was tossed into the center of the room, where Rabbit had constructed a large magic circle. As Matthew fell to his hands and knees on it, the circle activated and formed a large barrier around him. Ah! No! Frantic, Matthew rushed at the walls, slamming into them to hopefully be set free. He even formed multiple knives and tried to tear through the walls, only ending up with them ricocheting and landing on the floor.
Release me! No!
Matthew! Oh my god. I rushed forward, trying to touch the barrier, but was forcefully pulled back by Irene and Iridessa. Do not hold me back! Let the fuck go of me, please! I flailed in their arms, struggling against their hold, but became still as Diana entered the room with a large bloody handkerchief in her hand. Oh no.
You come into my castle, eat my food, rest in my rooms, and have the utter gall to kill one of my guards and try to steal war plans?
Oh, Matthew! No! Why? Why does he have to be influenced to do that? I'm sad now. No, it couldn't have been. I told you guys it would happen, but I just didn't say it. I stared at Matthew as he locked eyes with Diana, sneering and pressing up against the barrier.
Well, well, well. If it isn't the Queen of the Rebellion. I gotta tell you, you look like crap after all these years.
Oh, Jesus, Matthew, what's wrong with you? Who is, I know this is definitely not Matthew. Who is speaking? In Matthew's voice, this is dumb shit. Diana's face remained stone cold as she passed the handkerchief to one of the nearby guard and stepping forward, pressing her hand to the barrier.
Lux.
On her word, the barrier suddenly began to brighten with lightning, shocking Matthew within it.
Ah!
Matthew! No! I began to struggle more, wanting this to stop. Soon enough, it did as Diana pulled her hand away from the barrier and glared into it. Matthew, having been electrocuted, fell to his hands and knees, panting wildly.
I can smell you, Demon Lord.
Say what now? Say what now? I froze. The Demon Lord? He was behind this? I thought it was his mother. Same. But the Demon Lord? I looked back at Matthew, seeing him chuckle despite being in utter pain.
You figured me out, huh? You may have locked me away in my castle, but my bond to my blood is unbreakable.
Oh my god. I fucking hate this dude. I fucking hate the Demon Lord. I hate him so much right now. Why? Why the cinnamon bun? Why? Why? Matthew pounced off of the ground and slammed into the barrier wall, grinning from ear to ear at Diana.
And when you come, I will be ready. I know all of your little plans, and will make sure that I completely destroy your precious army, one pathetic soldier at a time. Once I do, I'll make Zakeru my heir, and finally take over the rest of this godforsaken plane. For good.
Oh dear. Oh, Diana, This time, however, Diana smirked and tapped the barrier between Matthew's eyes, her irises brightening to a sadistic gold color.
And this is where you fail in war, Demon Lord. Who said we ever wrote anything down about our plans?
Oh, she got you good! Matthew stared astonished at Diana before snarling madly.
You're lying!
Test me, mongrel. I will prove it on the day we lay siege upon your pathetic castle and dominate your puny army.
Despite how twisted the situation was, the rebel leaders and guards in the room began to nod and smirk at Matthew in agreement with Diana's words. Diana, however, pressed her face against the barrier.
And I swear to you, this war will end with you dying by the hands of a succubus.
Oh shit, she caught you good, Demon Lord! Ha! The guards around Diana cheered as Matthew continued to glare hard at Diana, clawing at the barrier wall to try and get to her to no avail. Diana straightened back up and scoffed.
As for your son, we'll need to do a little surgery.
Surgery? Ah, hell nah! Why? Surgery? I pulled at Irene's and Irides's hands, staring at Diana like she was a mad woman. Surgery? What the hell did she mean? Without another word, Diana placed her hand on the barrier and sent another wave of electric shocks into the barrier before Matthew finally passed out entirely. No! At last, Iridessa and Irene released me, letting me rush forward and kneel at the barrier, pressing my hands against it and peering in to see Matthew lying unconscious on the floor. I looked up at Diana as she turned and glared at her. Oh, wait, I completely read that wrong. Okay. I was thinking about the wrong thing. I looked up at Diana as she turned and glared at her. Why did you do that? Diana glared back at me before turning away from me, crossing her arms.
Why did you hide this from me?
No! I deserve an explanation! As Diana turned back to me at my sudden explosion, I felt my body instantly froze in fear underneath her sudden golden gaze.
And one of my men deserves not to be dead. Because of your little secret, this boy managed to lose control to whatever has been possessing him and killed one of my top-ranking officers in order to find my decoy battle plans.
Wow. I let it sink in. Matthew had killed someone. The influence on him really forced him to kill someone. I couldn't believe it. As Diana released me from her enthrallment, I buckled to my hands and knees, panting for air.
Was hiding this worth it? Was his precious pride truly worth the life of one of my men?
I shut my eyes, knowing how wrong the situation was. Matthew was trying. He was fighting to stop whatever was taking control of him. He needed to do it on his own. However, before I could think of speaking back, James and Sam stepped forward in front of me, blocking me from Diana.
Forgive him, Diana. He wasn't in control of himself.
And now you're defending him?
Shut the fuck up! You don't understand what he's been through.
And I don't care! One of my men is dead because of him! Controlled or not, it was his hands that took his life. No amount of pride can justify that.
This is so hard, man. The brothers silenced themselves as I took everything in. Matthew had killed someone. The brothers understood. And Diana had essentially been betrayed. Part of me screamed that this was all my fault. I didn't open my mouth to fix this. I didn't let anyone know what Matthew was going through. However, Matthew was desperate to do this himself, even though he failed in the end. I lowered my hand to the ground, gritting my teeth and trying to stop myself from crying. Carrie and Twyla rushed to my side, wrapping their arms over me in an attempt to comfort me, but I couldn't feel anything but despair for what was going on. I really want to apologize to Diana for what happened, but it's kind of hard, but I can't. This was all for Matthew, he wanted to do this by himself, so I can't. Despite everything, however, it was my choice. I trusted Matthew, and I wanted to help him in any way I could. He was the man I loved, and if I didn't trust him, then I truly couldn't deserve his love. I gripped the ground and glared up once more at Diana, seeing her stare down at me in expectancy. I'm sorry for what happened, but I am not sorry for hiding it. I felt her glare slightly at me, but I let the feeling roll off of my back. I hid it because I loved him and believed in him. This was a terrible circumstance, but I had to try and believe him. Matthew wanted to be self-reliant. He wanted to stop having his brothers come and rescue him. And if you can't see why he needed to do that, then you need to open your eyes. Silence lingered in the room as Diana continued to bore her eyes into my soul. At last, Diana let out an irritated sigh.
Enough. We need to figure out how to break this hold the Demon Lord has on him.
Everyone in the room seemed to agree. I rubbed my face and slowly stood, agreeing as well and now ready to fix what had happened. Diana looked to the guards over her shoulder and barked orders.
A chair, a bucket of sweet flowers, and a knife.
The soldiers nodded and saluted their queen before rushing off. Diana shook her head and placed her hand on the barrier.
What on earth could have made the control so strong?
Maybe it was his... I think the Demon Lord forced his mom to do this because... Remember in the beginning that the Demon Lord said he was... Wait. Remember the Demon Lord said he was going to give someone named Azira back their physical form? Maybe that was Matthew's mother. So that probably would help the Demon Lord gain total control of him.
His mother.
On point! Me and Damien are on fucking point! Okay. Everyone looked to Damien, seeing him look intensely at his fallen brother with worry.
I can hear her voice, pleading with him to wake up. She keeps apologizing for making him do what he did.
So his mother is to blame?
No. The Demon Lord is still the one who made him do what he did. The mother was a weakness of his, and only amplified his control.
That made sense. Diana sneered at Matthew's unconscious body as the soldiers from before rushed in and placed the chair beside her and the bucket beside it. Diana slowly sat down and crossed her legs, holding out her hand and feeling a knife being placed into it by a third guard.
We need to figure out how to block his mind from the Demon Lord's control. Once we do that, we can try to dispel it while the Demon Lord's power isn't using Matthew's energy.
Taking a purple peach-shaped fruit from the large basket, Diana began to peel it and slice it open, revealing a black center. However, her focus remained on Matthew.
It will take me some time, but I think I can manage it.
Are you sure?
I am. Everyone may go and sleep.
Everyone slowly nodded and began to leave the room. I, however, stood still, now wanting to leave Matthew alone. As Diana noticed me, she glared softly.
Go to your room and rest. I will call you if something happens.
Her words were venomous, warning me of the thin line I was walking across. As she placed the fruit slice in her mouth, I conceded defeat and left the room, staring at Matthew in utter worry before I exited. That night, I slept alone. I was filled with different emotions: worry, sadness, anger, betrayal, horror. Everything mixed and danced within me as I let out a heavy sigh. This would be a long night. I was barely able to eat or leave my room the following 2 days. I stayed in my room, trying to calm down and take everything in. Matthew was a prisoner, and Diana had to pull the control out of him somehow. How was she going to do that? I couldn't be sure, but I was certain that this was going to be a large challenge, especially since the Demon Lord was involved. The other wives visited me, helping me eat and go through what I had trained. However, my mind focused on Matthew. I was worried sick for him. I wanted him to be free and I wanted him to be okay. I knew that this wasn't the case for the moment, but I knew that it had to happen eventually. After all, we were a day away from marching to the siege. I gripped my hair and closed my eyes, trying to remember if there was anything I did to help stop the control. I was there for him, but it slowly dawned on me. I was there for him. His love for me was what kept him focused. I was there each time he lost control, and I managed to bring him down from that. It was something, a risky something, but something nonetheless. I rushed out of the room and into the grand hall, seeing Diana continue to stare into the barrier. Inside, however, was Matthew sitting cross-legged and smirking at Diana. Matthew. Diana and Matthew looked over at me in surprise, surprised to see me enter.
Human, what are you?
I ignored Diana and continued forward, standing in front of the barrier and staring into Matthew's eyes. Matthew, it's me. I was about to break into song for Adele. Okay, let's not. Serious moment, let's not. Matthew, it's me. Wake up and get a hold of yourself. Matthew stared in shock at me before smirking and crawling over with a pout.
Aw, is the little human upset that she can't get fucked by her incubus?
I swear to God, I am so close to wanting to do many bad things to this Demon Lord. So fucking close. But I need to calm down. I had to ignore him. The Demon Lord was taunting me, tempting me to get angry. Still, I concentrated on Matthew's eyes, knowing Matthew was in there somewhere. Matthew, I know you're there. You can fight this. I know you can. I could see a small glimmer in Matthew's eyes, proving that I was right. I smiled and pressed my hands against the walls of the barrier, trying to press myself against the magic blocking Matthew from me. Listen to me. You can stop this. You can do this yourself. I began to fill with hope. Despite my words also reaching the Demon Lord, Matthew was also listening, and I could hope that my love was fueling his need to stop his father's control. The barrier beneath my hands slowly began to solidify as my body slowly pressed into the wall and slowly barrel rolled inside. Whoops! Gah!
No!
Hi, Matthew, but you're also the Demon Lord. I gotta be careful. I looked up, finding myself inside the barrier somehow, looking around and seeing Matthew staring at me intensely. I gulped, knowing that the Demon Lord was still there, running Matthew's every movement, every word that ran from his lips. Still, I believed in him. I slowly stood up and walked over, opening my arms for him. Matthew, I love you and I'm here for you. Please, break through this and come back to me. Silence. Slowly, Matthew walked forward, shakily reaching out his hands for me. I could see the desperation in his eyes as he tried to listen. Yes, that was it. I walked forward and held his hands before feeling them slide up to my cheeks, warming my face with his palms.
Ew.
For a moment, a glimmer of his blue eyes filled my heart with joy. I gripped his hands, desperate for him to hang on and fight. Finally, Matthew gritted his teeth and released my face, gripping his head.
Get out of my head!
Matthew! I rushed over, wrapping my arm around his back as Matthew sank to his knees, digging his fingers into his hair. I could hear Diana trying to see what was going on, but my body managed to block her view. Matthew looked up at the wall and snarled.
Get out!
Yes! Matthew shouted at the sky, arching back and releasing a large red wave of energy from his body. It zipped into the air and broke free of the barrier, circling over the ceiling like a thundercloud. In quick response, Diana pointed her hands out and formed a large purple orb in her hand before tossing it at the energy, capturing it in another cage and letting it hit the ground. locked inside. My focus, however, was on Matthew. He panted and coughed, clasping over his neck and chest in pain as he shut his eyes tightly. I barely noticed the sound of Matthew's brothers and their wives running in to see what had happened. I lifted Matthew in my arms and caught his eyes as he opened them, seeing the man I loved once again back in my arms. Matthew? Matthew very slowly let a grin run across his face as he lifted a hand and cupped my cheek.
Hey, beautiful.
Ah! I'm happy! My breath hitched as I quickly fell forward and wrapped my arms around Matthew, uncaring that the barrier around us was slowly being dispelled by Diana. Matthew wrapped his arms around my form, hugging me tightly and kissing over my neck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The moment seemed to last forever, a private world with me and Matthew in each other's arms, desperate not to let go. However, Diana's voice caused us to slowly separate and look up at her.
Not that I care that I am breaking this moment apart, but we have more important things to do than this.
Diana. Diana rolled her eyes and took up the orb that held the Demon Lord's control energy, staring into it with a piercing gaze.
I will take care of this, but I'm positive that this is not all of it. After all, he did control you enough to kill.
Aw, man. Aw, man. I felt myself slump over. She really wasn't going to forgive him, but she was right. The Demon Lord's control was ultra-powerful. Who knew how much control he really had? Diana sighed and willed the orb away into the air before looking to us.
Well then, I've spent enough time fixing this. Now I must prepare for a war. Excuse me.
Diana nodded to us and left without another word. Matthew, however, grinned at me and nuzzled my forehead.
I guess I really did need saving after all.
I shook my head, knowing that was not true. I was there to help, not there to save. I kissed Matthew's cheek and smiled. I only helped you do it on your own. You broke his control over you, not me. We chuckled for each other, slowly standing and happy to be in each other's arms at last. James, however, stepped forward with a frown, causing Matthew to release me.
Matthew, I apologize for not being a proper brother for you and treating you with the respect you deserved. I would never want you to not trust me or the others.
Oh, James! He's apologized. This is like the most happiest brother moment ever. I swear. Oh my god. In agreement, the other brothers stepped up and nodded, ashamed as well. Matthew stared at all of them in shock before kissing my cheek and stepping towards them.
Hey. You're my brothers. We're supposed to support and protect each other, right?
All five of them smiled at each other, as I felt myself needing to rest once more. I held the wall slightly, maintaining my balance as I shook my head and looked up at the brothers, seeing them happily rekindle the brotherly love they had before. Isn't it they? Whatever. I looked to the wives, winking before sneaking out. Matthew needed some time with his brothers to settle some differences. I would wait for him in the room. I began to make my way back to my room, but stopped as I heard the sound of whispered voices sneak out through a barely opened door.
So, we're all in agreement? We have to. We don't have any choice anymore.
It will be for the better, I'm sure.
What's going on? What's going on?
Indeed.
I peeked into the room to see the interior of the library where the four rebel leaders stood in a circle. Sergeant leaned against the fireplace mantel while Rabbit and Shadow sat in the two empty chairs. Faye, however, floated to and fro from side to side in anxiousness. What were they talking about? I was so engrossed in figuring out what was happening in the room that I didn't notice a figure coming up behind me and pushing me into the room. Gah!
Hey, boss. Found something for you.
Ah, crap. Why, Eternimus? Why? Why did you betray me?
Huh? Ah, shit.
Hi. How's it going? Don't mind me. I'm just passing by. Didn't mean to intrude. Well, I'm gonna go now. Bye. I grimaced, now out in the open. The four stared at me with cold eyes, as if they were ready to send me back to the human world as a corpse rather than going through with the siege. I looked up at all of them as I slowly rose to my feet, eyeing each leader as I considered running for the door. However, they each looked to each other in contemplation.
Say, you didn't hear anything, did you?
No, I didn't. No, I swear.
What was the last thing you heard?
Something about it being for the better, something about having no choice. I don't remember. I'm going to say, something about having no choice. I suddenly felt the guards of each leader behind me, readying their weapons. Ah, shit. What the hell? Were they seriously going to kill me for walking by and eavesdropping?
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold on, guys!
I felt the guards back away from me slowly, most likely still cautious of me. I let out a small sigh, happy that I wasn't going to die. At least, not immediately. Please don't let me die. Rabbit, however, looked to me with an ear twitching in curiosity.
Let us ask first. Do you know what has been truly happening with Diana?
I looked to Rabbit, knowing what she meant. Diana had been acting oddly, and it was not boding well. The more I saw her, I could tell that something was seriously weighing her down or influencing her words. Yeah, well, what does that have to do with this meeting? As I answered, the other demons looked once again at each other before Shadow stepped forward, nonchalantly.
Let's not play the ignorance game. We're going to assassinate the succubus when the war is over.
What? No, that's going a little too far, guys. Don't you think? Killing Diana? Nah, What?
Oh, what the fuck?
Way to just blurt it out!
Ha ha! They didn't expect him to just do that.
There's no use in hiding it. We don't know how much she has heard.
I became massively confused. Why were they going to kill her? How are they even going to do it? Why? What good will come out of killing her? Rabbit stood and walked to the fireplace, staring into the open flames. I could tell I was about to get an answer, so I listened intently, wanting to know why they were planning Diana's murder.
Diana, we fear, has become corrupted.
Corrupted? What do you mean?
Meaning, she's going batshit crazy like the Demon Lord.
I furrowed my eyebrows. That couldn't be. She seemed mostly fine, save for a few instances here and there. Sergeant, reading my face, pushed himself off of the mantel and stood up straight, reminding me of his power with his stance. Please don't hurt me.
Human, you hate the Demon Lord as much as we do, correct?
I glared at Sergeant's stupid question. Of course I hated him. He had trapped me here and forced me and the others I loved to join this war. And he possessed my cinnamon bun Matthew and made him taunt me in his voice, and I am upset at that. There was no reason to even remotely like him. Cough. One of my friends. Cough, cough. Not saying the name. Cough! At my glare, Faye swooped in between me and Sergeant, waving their arms frantically.
Listen, we're not trying to make you mad, but...
This is ridiculous.
Shadow stood from his seat, now clearly irritated, and stepped towards me.
The succubus has gone mad, and if we don't end her life before she takes the throne, then she will become as mad as the Demon Lord. There is no saving her. Understand?
Oh, come on, Shadow! Seriously?
No, this is beyond unnecessary. All three of you are complicating the matter when all that needs to be stated is the truth.
At least he's not afraid of actually telling the truth. But how can that be? How is Diana mad like the Demon Lord? None of this made sense. Diana seemed mostly right in her head. However, she was strong enough to lead an army and help me survive until now. She even aided the incubi. These weren't the actions of a mad woman. Shadow rolled his eyes and went back to his seat as Faye put their hands behind their back, swaying a bit in the air.
Well, here's the thing. Here in the demon world, emotions and stuff can be uber powerful. Things like extreme grief or euphoria can even become energies on their own, while other feelings become, well, they can become very, very bad things.
Like madness?
Yeah. Madness is more than just a head mind thingy. Here in this world, it's like a leech or a virus. When a demon catches it, madness just grows and grows until it consumes them, like it did with the Demon Lord.
Taking the new information in, I looked to the floor, thinking of the Demon Lord and how psychotic he was said to have become. He waged wars and apparently enjoyed burning down kingdoms and slaughtering the innocent. If that was how far madness would take a demon, then I feared for anyone who was capable of falling into it.
You can become mad in multiple ways. By being born mad or being infected by it. Diana has fought the Demon Lord head on multiple times during the past 10 years. It was inevitable that she would catch the affliction.
Hey, at least Rabbit agrees with me that fighting the Demon Lord kinda made her mad. You can catch madness? How is that possible?
We don't know, but this wouldn't be the first time someone who used to be sane went mad because they were around another crazy demon.
There was an uneasiness in the room. Something told me that none of them believed that was the true cause. There's more, isn't there?
Huh?
I became bold. If Diana had to die, then there had to be a solid reason, and the madness excuse wasn't enough. Why were they planning it if none of them truly believed it? It's not just because she's mad, isn't it? Something else is wrong. The rebel leaders became silent, letting the tension lay in the air in plain view and giving me my answer. I was right. There was more to the story.
Look, I mean, it's not like I want to, okay?
I looked to Faye, confused. They twiddled their thumbs as they looked at their fellow demons.
The Demon Lord is a bad guy, and we just don't want another demon like him. And Diana's a very, very powerful succubus, you know?
What does that have to do with anything? Faye sighed and rustled their hair.
Well, she's like mega powerful and stuff. If she goes mad and takes over the world, we'd be screwed, you know? She can enthrall armies and stuff with just a snap of her fingers. Who knows what kind of damage she could do if she went crazy?
I don't believe that, to be honest.
I really don't care what happens after. I just don't want my people killed because of her stupid leadership.
I could tell that Faye was trying to be sensible about the issue, but in her eyes, I could see the fear of the situation. She was probably the only one who believed in her cause that Diana was mad, or at least in danger of becoming so. Rabbit shook her head, tapping her staff on the ground.
Regardless, we can't have you remembering the conversation we had here if we are set on stopping her.
I took a step back, now afraid. Were they really going to kill me? Faye sensed my fear and waved their hands wildly.
Whoa! Hey, hold on! We're not gonna hurt you or anything!
That was somewhat of a relief, but what were they going to do? As I took a breath, Shadow spoke up, catching my attention.
I'm curious, human. Do you believe in the succubus?
I would. Honestly. To be honest. What? The other rebel leaders looked to Shadow as he placed a hand on his chin in thought and peered into my eyes.
Who do you believe should rule this world? The succubus? Or one of us?
And suddenly, I became the focal point of the entire war's resolution. Why was my opinion important? I looked to the floor, trying to mull over his question and come up with an answer. Diana had saved my life and was doing everything to make sure I could go back to the human world as safely as possible. Still, from how she was behaving, something was indeed seriously off with her. Was she really ready to take the throne? The four rebel demons before me, however, were all smart and balanced each other out in some shape and form. I could tell that they could all bring peace to the world in some way. But did Diana really have to be eliminated for that to happen? I felt like I was standing on a precipice. I don't know. I knew that if I sided with Diana, then she would eventually be eliminated by these four unless she found out beforehand. I could warn her, but what if these demons erased my memories or threatened my life? I was balancing on the edge of a knife and had to pick a direction to fall. I closed my eyes and answered Shadow's question. Oh my god, why choices? Ugh. I'm gonna be honest. I have never said I believe in you all. I'm kind of curious to do that, but I am really not in the mood to see that further because I have to do things and I don't want to. And honestly, I really do believe in Diana because she's helping me and everything, and she hasn't really done anything at all to hurt us in any way, so I have to believe in Diana. Diana had done so much for us, for me. There was no way I could betray her. I am so sorry, guys. Please do not kill me. The four in the room stared at me, taking in my reply.
What does a human know?
Well, we did ask.
Enough. We need to continue this another time. For now...
Rabbit lowered her staff and pointed the tip at me, causing me to step back in fear.
Et ex memoria de hot loco mentem.
All at once, I felt my head completely filled with white noise, causing me to grip my head and fall to my knees in pain. Gah! I shut my eyes and felt the world spin around me before I relaxed as silence overtook my senses. My body floated for a bit in an empty void before softly landing on a surface, causing me to open my eyes and look around. Huh? What happened? I was in the hallway on the floor. How did I get here? I was on my way to my room. She erased my memories of that meeting. Oh my god. At least I remember it. So I physically remember it, and then my character doesn't. God dang it, Rabbit. Weird. I stood up and brushed myself off and looked around, hoping that no one saw me snoozing on the floor. When I noted that the coast was clear, I quickly continued on my way to my room. I must have been more tired than I thought. I finally returned to our room and flopped onto the bed, letting the events of my time in the Abyssal Plays replay in my mind. I had been trapped here, and soon enough, I was about to go marching into battle against the Demon Lord for my freedom. The more I thought about it, the more surreal the feeling became. I was going to be in a room, meeting a powerful adversary face to face, and set myself free of the curse he had brought down upon me. What made my head spin was the fact that Matthew had been under the influence of his father and mother's control. It was beyond imaginary, yet it happened. I couldn't believe it, but at the same time I had not choice but to come to terms with it. Not choice. Okay. As Matthew entered the room at last, I smiled and stood, walking over and wrapping my arms around him as he returned my embrace.
You're the best person in the entire universe. You know that?
I feel so happy. Thank you, Matthew. Butterflies. Okay. And you are too, Matthew. We held each other, locked in silence, unable to say anything more. We had been in a heavy predicament, and we escaped. Sure, the Demon Lord may still have some sway over Matthew, but it wasn't enough to control him now. All we could do in the moment was hold each other and listen to our synchronized heartbeats. As the thought of tomorrow danced in my head, I began to fear it even more. Was I ready to go into battle? Was Matthew? Were any of us, for that matter? We were about to walk into the final battle of a world war. Would we survive? Would I live to see Matthew afterward and feel his embrace again? Tomorrow brought too many questions to think about, and I became frustrated and scared. Oh, we're doing it! Feel free to skip if you like, but we're doing it. Make love to Matthew. I needed to hold him and treat the night like it was the last night of the world. Tomorrow was unpredictable, but tonight was guaranteed. I guided Matthew back and sat on the bed, looking up at him before slowly easing out of my shirt, locking eyes with him as I slowly began to strip for him. His breath became slightly hitched as he watched, obeying my silent demand to keep his eyes on me. As I finally became bare from the waist up, I pressed my hands onto the bed and slid back, letting my legs slip up onto the mattress and holding them out for him to do the honors. I tilted my head, letting him get the picture as I dangled my legs out for him. Matthew let out a shy sigh before nodding and biting his lower lip, and crawling up onto the bed, grasping my clothes and sliding them off of my legs, leaving me completely bare for him. As he tossed my clothes to the side, I settled back onto the bed and held out my arms to him. Come here. Obediently, Matthew followed, kneeling between my legs and pressing his hands on both sides of my body, staring deep into my eyes and making me become lost in his gorgeous blue irises. I slowly danced up my arms up over his shoulders and felt his skin slightly heat up beneath my hands and making me slightly smirk up at my loving incubus. I'm all yours. I want you to take all of me. The carnal desire that flashed in his eyes made my body shudder even before his enthrallment began to settle into my body and completely encase my core in desire.
I don't deserve you.
Shut up! Our words became muffled, lost in the air as he pressed his lipstick hard against mine and quickly began to discard his jeans, joining me in my bare exposure and taking in my scent as I relished feeling his skin against mine. However, what surprised me was him turning me over and wrapping his arms around my waist, hugging me back against his chest. Oh my God. I took the hint to grip onto the bedpost and arched my back for him, impatient. Oh jeez, We're going there. Then, pleasure racked through me and I became a moaning mess in his arms. The bed rocked hard against the wall as I dug my nails into the wood and took in his love with our love-making. My heart sung arise of love as my core screamed songs of ecstasy for the man taking me. This was indeed our last night in the demon world, so we would relish the feeling of magic and lust meddling around us as we soared into Europa. Even as we angled ourselves to lock lips, our inhibitions became lost in the air. Can't pronounce things. We became rough, rapid, and roared in the pleasure that rushed through us, quickly washing through our peaks once, twice, 3 times. We didn't care to count farther, losing our senses within our arms. As our ride eventually had to end, we settled onto the mattress, panting and gasping. The natural musk of our sweat danced in the air as we slowly cuddled together and relaxed into the sheets beneath our bodies. I was dizzy, swimming in oceans of joy and love within Matthew's arms, causing me to nuzzle his head beneath his and kiss over his Adam's apple. I'll always be here, in your arms.
And I'll be here in yours. I promise.
As a sense of hope and courage wrapped around us that night, laced with our undying commitment for each other. We would survive. We would be okay. I felt safe in Matthew's arms, and I'm sure he felt safe in mine. We would return to the human world and be okay. Tomorrow would decide everything. And that's where I'm going to stop for this episode. Whew! That was so long. I didn't expect it to be that long, but oh well. So in the next video, we are going to end Matthew's route. I'm going to go through everything. No matter how long it takes, I'm going to go through everything and finish up Matthew's route in the next video. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of my videos, then click subscribe. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!